Dana Bash is reporting this morning from Seoul, South Korea, that the U.S. was concerned the North Koreans might try to test a nuclear device. That has not happened yet. Do you think that the North Koreans still might try that, even with Vice President Pence on the peninsula?
Well, we do think that they may try that. I mean, this would be the 6th test that they would do. And of course, there's additional pressure now that we've put on China. I passed legislation last year through the House that was signed into law, which is a North Korean Sanctions Act, which now was actually taken up by the Security Council as well. And that puts additional pressure on neighboring countries such as China not to transfer to North Korea. We have found that unfortunately, China has continued to transfer some of the parts that North Korea has gotten their hands on now, and continue to transfer the type of fuel that keeps the economy going. What we're urging this president to do at this point is what was done once before with Banco Delta Asia, and that is shut down any foreign banks doing any kind of business in hard currency with North Korea, because when we last did that, we shut off the money for their program, and we shut it down tight as a drum. And I think that's the next step that has to be deployed.
Panama Papers, a North Korean company, has also been flagged up on that list. DCB Finance, established in 2006, was later put under sanctions by the US Treasury. The leaked papers reveal that the owners of DCB Finance were a North Korean official, Kim Chul-sam, and a British man, Nigel Coe. Is known to have spent 2 decades living in North Korea, and he registered the company in the British Virgin Islands. Coe was also the CEO of the Daedong Credit Bank, which was also hit with sanctions.
Okinawa, Japan, which has a number of military bases, United States military bases, I think around 18 of them. And recently they are moving one base from one section of the island to another, which has caused a lot of protests. And as a result of these protests, recently they held a rally. Yeah, they held a rally in a stadium in Okinawa, where it's estimated 35,000 people were in attendance. By the way, who paid for the rental of that stadium? Could you say cash from China? Now, before we discuss the stadium, recently also there was a rally in support of the bases and Americans in Okinawa. And if you look at these photographs, you can see they're waving American flags and Japanese flags. Well, the American flags, I guess, in support of the United States bases, and Japanese flags because they're Japanese patriots. Okinawa is Japan. Now let's look at the photograph of the stadium there. If you look at other photographs that show closer up images, one thing is missing: the Japanese flag. Gee, these people are protesting. They want the Americans out of Okinawa. They claim to be Japanese patriots, but I don't see any Japanese flags. Wonder why that's like that, no Japanese flags. It's quite simple. You just have to dig beneath the surface. Background. The island of Okinawa is being infiltrated with communist sympathizers, or outright communists, from North Korea and China. These protests are being instigated, if not planned or exploited, by the communists in China, because they do not want those bases there. You have to understand this, folks. You plan 5, 10, 15 years down the road. The communists in China don't do that. They plan generations down the road, 1, 2, 3 generations down the road. And that's what they're planning here. 2 or 3 generations down the road, that the island of Okinawa will be free of American bases and most likely part of the Middle Kingdom, China. Allow me. They infiltrate the schools with communist sympathizers or outright communists. They infiltrate the news media there. So what happens? The children are learning that those bases don't belong there and pro-Chinese garbage in the schools. The news media is promoting the anti-American bases there. It's planted in the minds of the average Okinawan, and they're getting tired that the government, the national government in Tokyo, they're not listening to us. Get those bases out of here! And Tokyo is not listening. Alright, you're not listening? The next move, a plebiscite, a vote to remove Okinawa from Japan. A succession. Yeah. And if that ever takes place, remember, 1, 2, 3 generations down the road, not 5 or 10 years. If that takes place, well, Okinawa becomes an independent country, the American bases are gone, and guess who fills that vacuum in? See? A couple of generations down the road. That's why you did not see any Japanese flags in that stadium, as not to offend the communist sympathizers or the outright people in that stadium that recently migrated from the Middle Kingdom, China. Very simple. You have to be analytical, folks. Alright, we'll see you. God bless you. God bless America. God bless the nation you happen to be in. And God bless our good friends and trusted allies in the land of the rising sun, Nihon Koku, Japan. And that's all the way from Hokkaido all the way down to Okinawa. Now let me tell you something, folks. There are good, decent people in Okinawa who are patriots. Yes, on both sides of the issue there are patriots. It just happens that the patriots on the side of removing the bases are being exploited by the insidious communists in North Korea and China. In Seoul, South Korea, an American ambassador, the United States ambassador to South Korea, he was slashed with a knife by a lunatic South Korean. And this lunatic South Korean, he identifies with a group that tries to unify both the North and South together and perceives the United States as being a hindrance to that unification. You can have such views, but when you manifest those views in the form of violence, then you're a lunatic and there's something wrong with you. But I bring this up because this would-be assassin is a member of a group that favors unification of the two Koreas. Now, in Okinawa, Japan, there are United States military bases, and right now there's currently a whole lot of demonstrations taking place against these bases, one specific base in particular. And on the fences, they place these signs. Look, these signs are written in Korean. Now, why would the Koreans be against it? Well, the South Koreans probably will not be against it, but this probably represents the writings from North Korean communists. But if you look at this sign over here, look at right there, the organization that's written on the bottom there. This organization also favors the unification of North and South Korea. So are these lunatics saying that the United States Marine base in Okinawa is a hindrance to the unification? You want to know what's a hindrance to the unification? You, the Koreans. You are the hindrance to it. You're asking American military troops to be there. We're not forcing ourselves there. Ask us to leave, and we say, hasta la vista, baby, we leave. So if there's a hindrance to unification, you have to blame Koreans in the North, you have to blame Koreans in the South. But don't be blaming the United States Marines, or the people in Okinawa, or the nation of the land of the rising sun, Nihon Koku, Japan. Blame yourselves.
I'm Ed Royce. I'm chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and I just want to congratulate the Korean American Forum for all of their important work on the Comfort Woman resolution and, most importantly, on the new statue that will be in Glendale and that will be the first statue on the West Coast. It will be based on the statue that you see today in Seoul, in South Korea, that's often called the Peace Statue. But it is representative of the trauma, of the tragedy, of the lives of 250,000 young Korean women who were taken into custody, taken into forced slavery during the war. And one of the reasons this is important is because even to this day, the insensitive comments made by the mayor of Osaka, Japan, and by the mayor of Tokyo demand a response. We in the United States Congress passed the Comfort Woman Resolution Initiative, but it is important that our citizens are engaged in this issue, that we continue to speak out. Recently on the House floor, I spoke out against the statements made in Japan by the mayor of Osaka and by the mayor of Tokyo. It is very important that the head of state, Mr. Abe, knows that we in the United States are going to continue to see that justice is done, that history is recorded here. We have heard the testimony in Congress of those women who survived this ordeal. We know what they went through. That is the fact. That is part of history. We must speak out because we must never again have a military action like this which justifies taking captive and putting into slavery comfort women. And so I once again thank the Korean American community for leading the effort to get Congress involved to take this stand and for putting together the effort to build this memorial so that they are not forgotten.